Welcome to the den, everyone. Um, this is Brown Central. He's a good friend of mine, and he's just started his own YouTube channel, Brown Central. He does not have a video yet, but he's going to definitely be doing things Browns and sometimes Eagles related. And yeah, I guess I'll let you talk about your channel and what you plan to do. And you're up.
Okay, so basically, I'm actually an Eagles and a Browns fan, but I will be covering the Browns this year because obviously they're obviously going to be better than the Eagles, and they'll just have a lot more going on. I feel like I'm gonna start posting like stuff about the Browns and just stuff about the league in general. Just keep you guys up to date about everything going on.
Sounds very good, my guy. So I decided to bring him in because me and him are hanging out and all that. And welcome to John. Welcome, John. Interesting profile picture. Yeah, we got some football talk here, and yeah, I mean, just for you guys to know, this guy's pretty big in the knowledge department in football, and yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun to have him. So I guess we're gonna start off with I want to talk about the Cleveland Browns, since as we know Brown Central is here, and I want to talk about what your thoughts are on the 2021 Browns. And I guess let's start with the 2021 draft of the Browns. What are your thoughts on the Browns draft?
I think that it was really good. I've personally feel like their biggest pickup was JOK. He's gonna be really, really good as long as his heart problems don't mess and interfere with like his game. That's probably my favorite pickup. Here, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna pull up some stuff. Um, Here we go. Okay. Um, Greg Newsom was also a very good pickup. That's probably my second favorite pick. Yeah. So Greg Newsom's gonna be really good, especially since we struggled in our secondary last year. But John Johnson was a really good pickup from the Rams, and then yeah, Denzel Ward, just all around good stuff from our draft. Honestly, I thought our draft we did pretty good compared to previous years. Anthony Schwartz, I don't really see that as a needed, but he's fastest 40 time of this year. Um, but yeah, we just added some more uh, defensive tackles and some offensive tackles. Got linebacker Tony Fields from West Virginia. He was like I don't necessarily know that we needed him either, but always good to have extra guys. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And John, the PFF did rank the Browns O line at number
Yeah.
one, which makes the Browns O line even more impressive because they had injuries throughout the year and COVID. So I'm pretty impressive by that Browns O line coach. Welcome to the Den, JGB. Glad to have you. All right, so I guess for the next topic, I want to talk about: is there anybody that you really liked in the Browns free agency? I'm not very aware of the Browns free agent moves.
I really um I I loved the John Johnson pickup. That's probably my favorite pickup of this offseason. And yeah, he's probably my favorite dude because that we really struggled at the safety position last year, and he was one of the top safeties last year. So it's a really good pickup in my opinion. I'm trying to think. Uh, oh, by the way, your camera is off. I don't know if you meant to do that.
No, I am right.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Hold on. We also got hold on. Give me a sec. I don't Jadavion Clowney, bro. I don't know about that one. Uh I mean, yeah, he's noticeable, but he's way overhyped. Like honestly, he'll definitely help. Like he's still an upgrade, but I don't think it's gonna be as big of a help as most people make it out to be. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, especially because you got to make sure he's got to stay healthy. He hasn't been healthy in his
Yeah,
life, so
true.
we'll see. But overall, I do think the Browns are contenders for the Super Bowl. It's just going to all depend on Baker Mayfield at
Yeah,
the end of the day. And are you confident in Baker Mayfield?
I personally am. I know most people aren't sold on him, but he showed some promise last year. And most in like deep situations, like against the Bengals, 14 seconds left on the clock, threw it to Donovan Peoples-Jones, corner of the end zone, in between two defenders, dime, and won the game. Right after OBJ got hurt too, threw 5 touchdowns in that game. So yeah, I think we just lost him. Let me give him a text.
Sorry, y'all. For whatever reason, just kicked me out.
You're all good. So, like I was saying, Baker showed promise in that game against Joe Burrow and his Bengals. Threw 5 touchdown passes, corner of the end zone, 14 seconds left on the clock. Donovan Peoples-Jones, dime, in between two defenders. And not even that, against Tennessee, showed some real leadership. They were up. I don't even remember the score. They were up by a crap ton, though. I do remember that. The defense sold in that game. They won, but barely. That was my only worry coming into the season was the defense, but they really cleaned that up in the offseason. So really happy about that.
Yeah, it's definitely very impressive because a lot of the people I've talked to, they just kind of see the big names that the Browns have: Myles Garrett. They've had Denzel Ward, and all of them. They just automatically think they have a good defense, but their defense wasn't actually all that impressive last year. Their offense
No, it
really
was
is what kept them in there. To answer John Kapler's question, do you think Garrett will line up against Sewell a couple times in the Browns Lions game?
if they do, that'll be really really interesting because I don't think Sewell has ever gone up against somebody like Garrett.
Penei Sewell, I do not think would stand much of a chance versus Garrett, considering the fact he's a rookie tackle and he didn't play at all in 2020. I would have my concerns, but I think Sewell wouldn't get manhandled by Garrett. But
I
I
don't
think
either.
Garrett would dominate the game
Sewell is
for the most
a
part.
very impressive player.
Yeah, well, I think Garrett is a top five defensive player, maybe even top three in the NFL
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
So
Only two edges. Only edge that I see that could maybe be above him is T.J. Watt.
yeah, I can get behind that. Welcome to the Den, Bo. Nice to see you here.
It
That better be a good steak, Bo.
better be.
Better be the best. Can I have some of that steak, sir? It sounds pretty good right now. Had McDonald's like the last 4 days. Could use the protein.
This is
All
true.
right. So, I guess into the what do you know about the Detroit Lions in the 2021 off season? I guess moving on to my team.
Honestly, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know a whole lot about the Detroit Lions. The most that I heard about from the offseason was your last live with John Kapler and Rams House.
Yeah. So I guess our biggest note is the firement of Matt Patricia. Um, it was
Yeah.
definitely a happy thing. Many of us cried tears of joy.
And y'all got an upgrade
Um,
at quarterback, in my opinion.
Traded away Matthew Stafford for 2 firsts and a third plus a quarterback. So it's definitely that's probably our biggest things of note. And of course, we drafted Sewell, and we drafted two defensive tackles, a corner, a receiver, a linebacker, and a running back that won't play for us, which is pretty interesting. But wife bought it, not good cuts. Ooh, that's rough, Bo. That's rough. I believe in you, Bo. It can be done. All I'm saying, if the Browns can go from 0-16 to 10 and to 11-5, you can do it too, Bo.
And then 16-0 this year. I'm just kidding.
I mean, You all should with that talent you have. So
We should, but it won't. It's not going to happen. I think I think we'll surprise a lot of people on opening week when we beat Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City.
oh, that's bold.
Yeah.
Welcome to the den, Big West. Why is wait Big West? I'm just gonna call you Big W. I can't say your name ever, man. John Kapler says, "Wait, what? You said the Lions got upgrade at QB," and he also
Okay,
says later on, "I don't
let,
think I've ever heard anyone say that."
let me explain myself then. Okay, so it's statistically proven that John Goff that Jared Goff is more accurate than Matthew Stafford. And it's also he's a way better red zone QB than Matthew Stafford. That's where most of y'all's games were sold was with Matthew Stafford in the red zone. And I've seen some Lions game with Matthew Stafford when he's in the red zone, and it's not pretty at all.
For sure, that was easily his biggest weaknesses. Did you actually know one of our receivers named Quintez Cephas, who actually had a pretty solid rookie year, had 21 uncatchable throws according to PFF. That was
Dang.
crazy.
Yeah.
And so my Stafford had the rocket arm, and he had some throws where you were like,
Oh yeah.
"Wow, that was crazy."
hmm
Accuracy was always his issue as a quarterback. But yeah, I
And a
also just think
quarterback honestly needs to be a player because they
exactly.
have to throw the ball in tight places. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, Cam Newton did go to the Super Bowl with a 59% completion percentage. So at the end of the day, I don't know, man.
that team was pretty good though. That team was
Oh,
pretty good.
oh yeah, Superman. But I will say the thing with Goff is that Stafford never had is he had has had more. No, it's 2017 has as many. Only one player has as many wins as Jared Goff since 2018. That is Tom Brady, which does help. So he knows how to win. And also the big thing that we've also seen the struggle with him is below the age of 26. No quarterback has really had that much success as a
Yeah.
pocket passer. Most of the quarterbacks have success at ages from 20 to 26. Have been dual threat quarterbacks such as Patrick Mahomes, who can run, or Russell Wilson. But in terms of statistics, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees weren't that good until they got to the age of 26. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because that brain's finally matured. I don't know. But that's just kind of what happens. And I think he'll be better with that O line of ours as well, with the addition of Penei
Yeah.
Sewell, because we already have a top 5 center in Taylor Decker and a top 10 left tackle in Taylor
Mhm.
Decker. And hopefully we've also had last year's Jonah Jackson. And my biggest example of an O line improving a young quarterback is actually Baker Mayfield. In 2019, the Browns had one of the worst O lines in football. And when they got him an O line, because they signed Jack Conklin, they drafted Jedrick Wills, Wyatt Teller exploded. That's when Baker Mayfield comes in and plays well and improves. But yeah,
Yeah. Totally agree. Just say
I got
Big
his
West.
blessing. Let's go. What up, BD Buster? Welcome to the den. I don't know about this guy, but you're welcome to talk Lions ball with me anytime. After that, thank you. Hey, I'm just saying, this guy, he knows his stuff. I mean, he's as smart as me, of course, but he's definitely got the genius. But like really, this guy just completely predicted the Brown season. I kind of laughed at him when I talked about Baker Mayfield with him, and he just kind of exploded. So this guy, he does know his stuff. So he's got some good opinions. I think our offense will be pretty good. I'm not sure about the defense if we don't fill some holes at safety and linebacker.
Is he talking about
Okay,
Lions or Browns?
yeah, definitely Lions because you guys
Okay.
got good safeties.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say.
yeah, I
I
will
mean, I
say,
could
but
go
you keep
ahead.
talking.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
I will. All right. So my biggest thing is we're rebuilding. I'm sorry, but I don't think we're gonna go from like worst to first. We're gonna go like to Super Bowl. Hallelujah! We're gonna smack his Browns and win. It's just not gonna happen. It people who say we're just gonna be instantly good. They are really big. They're on some kind of hopium, is what or Kool Aid or something, one of the two, because it's just very rare, especially for our caliber of a bad team. We're not like the Colts where we were like a coach away from being good, which is kind of what we were, except we lost a lot of our key players over the years because of Matt Patricia. We didn't draft well because of Matt Patricia. The only thing we ever had any success under Matt Patricia was arguably O line, and we just got Swift, so yay. But safety, I'm not so worried about because I think Tracy Walker struggles last year was a product of terrible scheme. At linebacker, we got Jamie Collins. And I'm concerned because I do not think that Derek Barnes is going to be amazing year one as a coverage player, maybe as a run stuffer, but I have my concerns. But I don't know. It's definitely our weak points. I will agree, linebacker and safety. I even have my concerns about corner, but I think the signing of Quinton Dunbar will help. And we also have Monty O, who I already think is the most underrated corner in football. Should we trade for Jordan Hicks? No.
I actually read ahead to that. Um, I don't think so. Especially like with the linebackers. Like they're not amazing, but Jordan Hicks, he's a solid player. Like he did pretty good last year. He got like 70 solos, 40 assists. But honestly, like y'all have some pretty decent linebackers. Y'all's linebackers aren't terrible, honestly. The Lions, their defense is underrated, in my opinion.
I totally agree. I think the biggest thing you have to look at for our team is how much of it was Matt Patricia, how much of it was the players just not that we didn't have yet. Um, I think people forget we actually had the 10th ranked defense in 2018. We have been good before, or at least fairly above, not worst in the league like we were last year. But we had terrible scheming. I think there's a lot more to our team than just more meets the eyes if you followed this team heavily. We used to only rush 3 players. We're not going to be doing that anymore. We're actually going to be rushing more around 5 after the move of Romeo and Trey. I think we're going to be a lot better, and I think it's going to lead to better players. For example, a player I think that might benefit from Patricia being gone is actually Will Harris. Will Harris is more of a box safety and is kind of more of a Quandre Diggs than just a normal strong than whatever they were trying to do with Will Harris. And I think that's a player who will do better because Matt Patricia's scheme was just awful. That's kind of my, I guess, say on the defense for now. And then Big West says, I agree, 7 to 10 is realistic.
I agree with that.
I can. Is that for our win? Yeah, okay. If that's our win total, I can agree. I think 10 is definitely kind of like, I don't know, but I think we can I think we're guaranteed to win past 5.
I'll
Listen, we have
I'll
5.
even I'll even go out on a limb here. I'll say 9-8.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing that people forget is we had 5 wins with Matt Patricia.
Yeah. Last year was terrible room. I mean
Oh yeah,
terrible
yeah. We had
terrible year.
32nd ranked defense in the league. We had the worst defense in franchise history.
Which is
And we
sad because the Eagles defense was some booty cheeks last year.
had oh yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing people forget is our defense was just horrible. And people say, "Oh, we're not going to get past 5 wins, or we're going to be like a 1-win team because our defense sucks." We had 5 wins with the franchise's worst defense, and our offense wasn't even all that good last year. It wasn't good till DeAndre Swift broke out last year. Stafford even struggled last year. I feel like we're guaranteed past 5 wins when we've improved at everything but receiver this offseason. We got a
Yeah.
better O line, better running back with the addition of Jamal Williams. We got a better tight end to back up TJ Hawkinson, and he'll develop another year just like tight ends do. Our defense got better. I don't see how we're going to get suddenly worse.
Yeah. DJ Hawkinson's easily a top 5 tight end.
Yeah. And so it's definitely something that I like to, I guess, I just think we're better than what people think we're going to be. John Kapler said, I think Goff's an upgrade 2 and 4 are new number 1 receivers and number 2 receiver. Goff's the best QB that they have. They don't try and throw fastballs like his BFF Clayton Kershaw. Cough, cough, Stafford. Wow.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
And if in
No,
reference,
yeah,
Christian, it's crazy because Matthew Stafford actually broke his receiver's hand sometimes
yeah,
because he threw it that hard compared to
hmm
Goff, who I don't think I've ever heard his fingers being broken.
yeah.
So,
And honestly, like, and with the new head coach, DJ Hawkinson will be used a lot more. He wasn't used enough last year. That was one of y'all's biggest mistakes, in my opinion.
oh yeah, for sure. The biggest thing that I have for TJ Hawkinson, that was an example that we didn't use him enough, was the Texans game. He had that one big play, and then they kind of just stopped using him.
Yeah, Matt Patricia is kind of an idiot.
Oh yeah. I think another thing is just all the design plays. Like sometimes when they would use him, it'd just be like a dink and dunk. But now I think they'll start using him for real. Bo definitely an interesting scenario that we have there. Uh, this is a season where we could be the worst, or we could be medium, or the best because we have no idea. We are in a complete limbo because
That
we
is
have a
true.
new coach, we have a new quarterback with new receivers and a new defensive philosophy, a new GM. We could literally be 0-16, and I wouldn't be surprised because we don't know about this team. It's just impossible. But I like it. I
I'm sorry,
love the positivity, and we very could well be there.
y'all are not going 0-16. Y'all have a winning quarterback. He knows what it feels like to win.
Very true. I don't know if he plays anything like how he did in 2019. I'd be a bit concerned though.
Yeah, that is true. We forget about that year though. It's okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. Did Todd Gurley get signed else somewhere? I hope so because I do not want him on this team. Man does not have knees anymore. I do
um,
not think he did.
you don't like Todd Gurley?
No, the man doesn't have knees anymore. I mean, he had like 3.5 yards per carry with
And
the
Todd
Falcons.
Gurley has not been signed somewhere, just so you
Yeah, I just looked it up.
know. So
I'd be
y'all might be
surprised if he
getting
gets
him.
signed.
Nah,
Huh.
just re-sign AP. I'm telling you.
We'd get the exact same production, so you know what? Not a bad idea.
Oh, he just cut out again. I'm fine with this one's not going to cry. He'll join right back, I'm sure.
Official?
There he is.
I'm getting screwed here. Oh my word! I went to go adjust my volume and it kicked me out for no reason. But
Yeah. With this not going to cry, I just really believe in these guys. That's kind of heartbreaking. We don't want to see you cry, Bo.
yeah, it's probably just the seasoning on the steak, buddy. That's all it is. Wide receiver 1 will be Tyra Williams. Wide receiver 2 will be Quintus Cephas. Wide receiver 3 will be Rashad Perriman. Wide receiver 4 would be Amon-Ra St. Brown. And wide receiver will be up for grabs. Ooh, that's
Yeah.
bold. Cephas over Perriman, the vet. I generally think that Perriman will win the number 2 because he is a vet. And also because Cephas is kind of more of that big possession slot guy, but I do think he can play outside. Uh, I could also see, I honestly think that the wide receiver position, wide receiver 3, is actually going to be heavily rotated between St. Brown and Cephas
St.
because they're
Brown's
just that
going wide
talented.
receiver 1. I'm just kidding.
That's a bold prediction. Yeah, I don't know. My big thing is they both have things they're really good at. Quintus Cephas is a big body possession receiver who can get separation. Amon-Ra St. Brown is more of a pure contested catch guy that can maybe be good after the catch as well.
What
Um,
what y'all needed to do this season was totally tank y'all's season and then get Kyle Pitts and run double tight ends. DJ
that,
Hawkinson and Kyle Pitts.
that would have been scary.
That would have been scary, especially with Jared Goff.
Oh yeah, the tight end master. You mean we won't go 0-17? Oh my gosh, that's right. I keep forgetting that there's 17 games this season.
First
I'm
pick.
so
We won't be
sick.
the second pick overall, so haters can walk out that door. Honestly,
True.
y'all won't pick because the Texans season is going 0-17, and even if y'all go 0-17, then y'all are still going to be behind the Texans. So, and y'all won't
Oh
go
yeah.
0-17.
Well, and also I think the big thing is we have talent. I mean, really, there's not a spot that makes you go, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna die." Other than
Yeah,
really the safety position. I mean,
yeah.
I think people forget how good Tyrell Williams can be. I mean, as long as the guy can, stay healthy, he's actually a pretty good receiver. His yards. He's literally only two receivers in the top 10 leaders for receiving yards have a better yards per catch than him. So he's definitely a good player, and I like him. Then leaving us with a Browns fan who's about to pull out the ball gag and whip. Oh no!
This dude. Hey, just so you know, I'm more of a Eagles fan than I am a Browns fan. I'll just be covering Browns. I'm a very big. I'm an OU fan. If that tells you anything.
He's
So
more of
you
a
can,
college guy than NFL, but
yeah. So you can guess where OU fan goes to the Browns.
he's just following Baker Mayfield.
Shh! Don't tell him that.
Perriman will get hurt like he always does. Perriman gets hurt a lot. I thought it was. I I thought he doesn't get injured. I think you mean. I thought it was Tyrell Williams who gets hurt all the time.
No,
Oh
just
yeah, never mind. Perriman
the
gets hurt
Lions
all
in
the time.
general. Lions get hurt.
Very true. Yeah, Perriman actually hasn't played a full season since his rookie year.
Okay.
Crazy. Huh. I don't know. I'm not a huge Perriman guy. I think the only reason he gets the number two job is the vet part. And he does have the size explosiveness. And he only has like that one game where he just like goes crazy. I don't know why, but he does. Kind of like Watkins in week one. Something about him.
It's honestly a really big shame that y'all didn't keep Galladay. He's asking for way too much money.
Oh yeah. I think he just wanted out personally. I don't know why he'd want out, and then he went ahead and joined the Giants though. So
Because Sterling Shepard, bro. He wants to be with Sterling Shepard.
exactly.
I'm
And then he
joking.
went from Matthew Stafford to Daniel Jones.
Yeah, Daniel Jones trips on air, so we don't like him.
Oh yeah. Who are your guys' number one and number two cornerbacks? Like nationally, or like on the team?
Nationally, obviously Jalen Ramsey at number one. There's
Yeah,
no doubt about that one. Uh, honestly, it's really tough for number two because there are a lot of good corners in the league.
Xavier Howard for me at number two.
Oh my gosh, yeah, probably Damian Howard. But go ahead and go to the next comment.
You notice he didn't deny the ball.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh,
word!
this man's on something.
I'm a bit concerned by the fact he's so hung up on the ball gag and whip. Do you want to see the ball gag and whip?
No. I'm denying it right now, Bo. I'm denying it.
Huh. But yeah, I think. But that guy just no one gets past him. I mean, he had a 50.7 completion percentage and only allowed two touchdowns all year.
hmm
It's crazy.
I'm at. I think he's meant to say I meant for the Detroit Lions with Quentin Dunbar being on the team.
Oh, okay. So Quinton Dunbar, I think um, that he's just a fantastic cornerback. He was literally a top five cornerback in
Yeah.
was it 2019? What was the year he exploded? Was it 2018 or 2019?
Here, give me a second. Give me a sec. Um, it would be 2019.
All right. I just think I don't know. I just think that he's has that ability of just being fantastic, and so I don't know. I think Dunbar wins number one. None of our cornerbacks are exactly proven here and elite. Like I don't know. It's just I love Amanio. I'm a big fan of the guy, but he's also not elite yet. I think
Yeah.
he could maybe one day, but he wasn't elite last year, and Dunbar has been elite. I think there's going to be competition for the number one spot, considering the fact Dunbar wasn't that good last year. But yeah,
Honestly, he was mediocre last year, if anything.
oh yeah. Well, wasn't he? I do believe he was facing an injury.
You could be correct. He also, um, yeah, he only got one interception last year versus his 4 in 2019 playing for Washington. So,
Mhm. Quick question. I'm going to send you a little bit of a thing in the private chat and see if you're fine with it.
okay. Yeah, that's totally fine. Bring him on.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't know if he's going to be actually be able to. He's is that. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we could just do it tomorrow. Maybe. But
Honestly, just send him an invite, and if he joins, that's cool.
yeah. Yeah. All right. We might have a special guest, guys.
Okay. Um, yeah. If you want, we can go ahead and move.
Yeah. Sorry. It's just kind of a pause here. So
No, you're good. You're good.
on here. By the way, I think I saw Luke G on the chat.
Yeah, I did too.
Thanks, man, for coming to the stream, man.
I'm
It's
here.
fantastic. This guy single-handedly like blew up my channel like in a few hours. I had like 60 subs before I joined. I mean, went on the live with him, and like within that day, like the next day, I got 100. So this man is 100% appreciated.
Goat.
Yeah. Do you think any undrafted free agents make the roster for the Lions? We'll start with you, Brown Central.
Honestly, probably they should at least take a look because there are a couple of undrafted free agents that are still out there that are all right, but they kind of already missed like the good ones because the good ones have already obviously been picked up by other teams. What about you?
I do think there will be undrafted free agents, but I do not think we'll have any be starters.
No,
If
not at
we
all.
do have a starter, it could be one of our undrafted free agents, one being Javon McKinley. He was pretty explosive last year for Notre Dame, and we did give him $100K in guaranteed money to just join our team. But I don't think anyone will really have any chance to start. But I think there can be definitely players that make the team. What up, Warrior? And Bo says hi to Luke. And what up? Oh, not Luke. Definitely got to thanks for man. You even inspired the channel, so all thanks for you, man. So, I mean,
Honestly, this is a really good take.
I could see it if Goff returns to old form. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, and we get a good receiver over
And
the
obviously
draft.
the Browns are going because who's going to stop them? Not Patrick Mahomes.
Oh yeah. Well, I actually think that the Chiefs could regress by 2023. They got a couple guys they have to resign. Their running
Honestly,
game just sucks.
yeah. My my prediction for the AFC Conference Championship will probably be give me the Bills and the Browns. I'm gonna go ahead and take Kansas City out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
I thought you
say
said Super Bowl for a moment. I'm like,
no.
AFC.
No.
The NFC is just so bad that they have to do an AFC championship.
Yeah, that's the Super Bowl right there. AFC Championship. Honestly, it'll probably be better than the Super Bowl this year, to be honest.
Yeah, if the NFC doesn't improve, I'm a bit worried.
Yeah.
But-
And to be fair, the closest team to taking out Tom Brady this past year was the freaking Washington football team. So
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Taylor is the GOAT, so no surprise. But
Heineke, bro, what a goat.
oh yeah, the big H.
Yeah, for real.
Um. So what is it that makes you think the Browns are going to be going to the Super Bowl? By the way.
Okay, listen. First of all, they lost by 5 to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I know that Patrick Mahomes got taken out at the end of the third quarter, but also Rashard Higgins, there was definitely a targeting call that they missed in that game when he dived for the end zone, and it was a touchback. Dude went straight into his head, and it's over now. Like, you can't really fix anything about that, but they have a way improved defense. The Browns do, and not saying the Chiefs also have a improved O line, which makes them like they probably have the best overall team right now. But I don't think the chemistry will click as much as everyone thinks it will with the O line. And the but for real, 5 points with a terrible defense. That's all I got to say about that.
For sure.
And Rams also
Indeed.
joined us.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry, my internet is just dying in this room. I don't know why. It keeps freezing me. But yeah. So pretty excited about the Browns. Obviously, who do you think are going to be their biggest competitor, not named the Kansas City Chiefs? I think this guy right here probably has your answer.
Yep. That's what I was going to say.
Well,
If we're talking about
I don't-
AFC, it's definitely the Bills.
Mhm.
What are we talking about?
Talking about the Browns' biggest competitor this year.
I mean, for being realistic, the Browns' biggest competitor is usually the Browns.
True. Very true.
They have a tendency to shoot themselves in the foot quite a bit with stupidity, whether it's trying to hit a guy in the face with a helmet or any other shenanigans that we pull.
Oh, brother.
Mm.
But no, so who's the biggest competitor in the AFC as a whole, or in just their division?
I
it's
think we're talking about
conference.
AFC.
Yeah, like AFC.
The
All that.
conference. I mean, it's got to be the Chiefs. There's no question about that. They
Yeah.
didn't get worse, so
Mhm.
so they got to be number one. If you're talking about number two, it's probably. I think I named that. I think I named the Bills as my my non-obvious Super Bowl choice. So
Yeah.
I would have to stay consistent. Say the Bills are probably the second best team in the division. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Browns take the division though, because you got a running back playing quarterback at one of the teams. You got the Steelers who are on their way down.
Old man Ben.
I mean, yeah, unless the Bengals find some magic, doesn't seem likely, but you never know.
The Bengals are just question marks all over. I mean,
Jamar
I'd be
Chase
very
over
surprised.
Penei Sewell. That's a good one.
I don't have an issue with that. I long term, probably Penei Sewell would have been a better choice for them, but I don't have a problem with them trying to make their quarterback. They have a potential franchise quarterback, a very young one, trying to make him comfortable. If they would have taken any other receiver besides Jamar Chase, I would have been like, those guys are morons. But he took Joe Burrow's college teammate, so who also happened to be the best receiver in the draft. So I will give them leniency. I understand people being like, bro, that's stupid. You needed O-line help, but it's a special exception. How often are you going to get a number one overall quarterback whose college receiver was the best, most talented receiver in college also, and have him be available where you're at? It's literally a once in a million opportunity. So I could see them passing up on Penei Sewell to get to take advantage. I imagine they asked Joe Burrow, like, bro, do you want to play with Jamar Chase again? And he said yes. I'd be shocked if Joe Burrow wasn't on board with that.
His knees were probably looking at him pretty funky though.
Yeah, but when you got a guy as talented as because Chase isn't like Devontae Smith, where mostly what Devontae Smith is a burner. Chase is a guy who's capable of doing anything. He's got route running, he's got speed, he's got hands, he's got physicality. Like Jamar Chase has literally everything.
Yeah,
So that's a guy that will, in effect, give Joe Burrow the opportunity to throw the ball faster as well, just because of how fast he can get open compared to the other guys on the team. They have a really good weapons core now. You're talking about Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. They don't have a tight end to save their lives. I mean, it's like there's like their best tight end is like the 60th bet. Like every team has 2 tight ends better than their first guy. I don't know how that's even possible.
I believe it.
I mean, literally, Drew Sample. They should have sampled him and passed on it.
Oh, dang, wordplay.
You got that? No, so I don't think they're nearly as. I don't know. They're pretty bad. They have almost no talent on defense. Like literally almost no talent on defense.
Nope.
They've got a bunch
Trey
of guys
Hendrickson
who
will not be
were
slandered.
supposedly were going to be good. Trey Hendrickson is going to not be as good with the Bengals as he was with the Saints. That's a matter of fact. I mean,
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he has like no help on that D line. One of the reasons he was so good in New Orleans is because he had a bunch of help on the D line.
yeah, Hubbard is, he was really good in college. Does that
Okay.
count?
I wanna ask you all a question. I just want to stir
Hey.
this up a little bit. Who's winning the NFC East this year?
I mean, the Cowboys probably, unless Washington gets a real quarterback, it's going to be the Cowboys. The
Are you
Eagles.
dissing Heineke right now?
Do what?
Are you dissing Heineke right now?
He's not even going to play. So yeah, I mean Fitzpatrick's going to start. So you're also assuming that a guy can reproduce a little bit of spark that he had in a few games, which I'm not sure he can.
This is true.
He had an okay game in the playoffs against Tampa Bay.
He almost took down the GOAT, though.
He did, but we've seen people do things like that before and then literally never do anything again. He
This is
wouldn't be
true.
unique in that.
Nick Foles. Sorry, excuse me.
Well, no. Nick Foles had literally one of the top 5 passer rating seasons of all time. That's a whole different story. I actually think Nick Foles has been screwed in his career. I mean, all they needed to do with Nick Foles is let him be a game manager. 27-1 is pretty absurd. 27-1 doesn't happen by accident. That for those of you who don't know, that was his TD to interception ratio. Like you don't do that on accident. That is a pretty phenomenal accomplishment. And the fact that no one else was able to help him replicate something like that is a shame to every team that's used him. He's been in one situation after another where they're like, hey, Nick, we need you to be everything. And he was never that guy. He was a guy with a phenomenal O-line, a good running game, and a bunch of weapons who just played super safe football, and he dominated doing it. And by all means, he was a game manager plus, and no one ever allowed him to be a game manager ever again. He was always needing to make plays. Nick Foles was never going to make plays. But I actually thought Nick Foles would have done okay if he would have gotten a real chance. Like the Bears isn't a real chance. That's like a train wreck. And
Even if they had given him a chance over Carson Wentz, I really think that he would have done better than Carson Wentz that following year.
He would have. Carson Wentz is a freaking train wreck, like horribly. Yeah. I agree with you. I think he would have done better than Carson Wentz. He just requires less than Wentz does, and which is people think is funny because Wentz is more athletic, but Foles doesn't. I'll put it this way: let's say Drew Brees would have retired 2 years ago, and Nick Foles would have been his replacement in New Orleans. I bet you money we're talking about Nick Foles, the Pro Bowler.
Yeah,
a quick passing attack, which is quick, first, second read throws, short, fast stuff. He would have dominated.
Especially with Emmanuel Sanders and Thomas there. Oh my goodness,
he would have been able to do some work there. The Washington defense is outrageous, but with Dak coming back, and I mean, how much worse can that defense get? I wouldn't totally count out the Giants. The Giants actually have a weird they have a weird quantity of talent. They're just not putting it together. I mean, you're talking about even on the freaking O line, you've got Nate Solder, who's been all pro quality in the past. You've got Matt Pert, who's been good in the past. Willer Hernandez was a draft crush for me. He's a massive guard who's got a lot of talent. I mean, they're not, but the O line sucks. Like it just never gets put together. They have Evan Ingram, they've got Kenny Galladay, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. They're freaking talented. Now they got Kyle Rudolph also. They've got Saquon Barkley coming back. Like on paper, the Giants' offense should be great. And on the defensive side, they have Lorenzo Carter, who was an underrated draft pick they picked up. They got Blake Martinez. They've got Leonard Williams. They have Danny Shelton, Dexter Lawrence. They have a really stout D line. I mean, those three right there are solid. They picked up Adoree Jackson. They got Jabril Peppers. James Bradbury's an underrated corner. I mean, the talent is there, but I just can't help but wondering if the coaching staff isn't there.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones isn't anything special, but when you have Saquon, an okay offensive line, Galladay, Shepard, Slayton, Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, and John Ross to boot, if he can ever learn to catch a football, then they should be doing stuff.
And in my opinion, honestly, the Giants probably have one of the most underrated offenses in the league.
It's crazy how bad they are considering the amount of talent they have.
Yeah.
Well, I think the big thing that the Giants had last year was injuries and also that questionable play from Daniel Jones last year. And
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, and then Saquon Barkley was hurt. And
I'll give Daniel Jones the same grace that should be given to every pocket quarterback when they're young. He's learning to play football. Like it's different. Everything's so much faster, and he doesn't have the ability to avoid that speed. So he has to learn how to do it from scratch. All pocket quarterbacks struggle in the first 6 years. There's no real exception that you can find in history about that.
Mhm.
So I don't doubt Daniel Jones can grow. I don't think I'd ask him to be much more than a game manager because, like, as opposed to a guy like Goff, for example, he hasn't actually shown a really good ceiling yet. That doesn't mean he can't show one. But by year 2, Goff had already had his 2017 season and had already shown that he was capable of a lot more.
Well, I think I've actually done like a lot of film review on Daniel Jones just because I felt like it one day. And Daniel has moments where he just looks fantastic, and then something happens. For example, that trip run he had versus Philly, very questionable. I mean, he had this amazing play, and you're like, oh, shoot, he got it, and then he falls down and all that. It's definitely an interesting scenario.
Yeah, I think, but that's kind of the telltale signs of a talented quarterback who is super young and doesn't get it yet. And some guys never get it, and some guys do. We don't really get to find out until they get into their prime, 26, 27, 28, if they're getting it or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes a while to get it. That's why there's a lot of young quarterbacks like Daniel Jones Daniel Jones has some plays where you're like, oh, dang, he could be really good. But he has a lot more where he's like, oh, he kind of sucks.
And the reason he gets so much hate is because he's following in the footsteps of a Hall of Famer. Like he just replaced Eli Manning.
You're gonna piss people off with that statement.
Just saying.
No, I think Eli probably is a Hall of Famer. I mean, there's worse players in the Hall of Fame than Eli Manning.
Oh, and Eli Manning definitely didn't beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice.
Mm-hmm.
And people would say that was the defense more than anything. But hey, what's up, One Pride 40? Yeah, so I think, but man, the Cowboys are the same thing as the Giants. Super talented, but they just suck.
This comment is amazing because Jacksonville is not better than Detroit, not even a little bit.
It's because they have their boy T-Law. Their girl T-Law.
Don't get me wrong, Trevor Lawrence is going to be good, but it's not going to be this year.
Yeah. Well, and there's so much stuff that they have that I don't think I think they're going to have a worse defense than the Lions. I don't really like much about their defense.
And I've seen like rankings where they have the only team worse than the Lions is the Texans. Like that's not right at all.
I don't know what to think about the Jacksonville Jaguars yet. They have a lot of odd pieces that are potentially useful. Miles Jack at their inside linebacker position. They got Josh Allen on the D line to rush the passer. They've got They picked up Shaquille Griffin, who's been historically a decent corner. They got Sidney Jones IV, who was a first round pick a couple of years ago. Or was he second? Early second? I think he was end of first. Oh, he was early second. They've got some interesting talent. The offense has got a lot of weapons potentially. I mean, I don't think James Robinson or Travis Etienne, I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name, are really that good by themselves, but they could be a good 1-2 punch. They're totally opposite running backs.
And Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne also have like
they have
good
their
chemistry.
Yeah, DJ Chark is obviously a potential superstar. Marvin Jones is a decent second option. Laviska Chenault could be good. He obviously was was he a second or third round pick? Early second round pick. But he's so I didn't like his college film, but obviously he got taken in the second round, so maybe he can be good. Their O-line is pretty horrible. That's probably the worst part about them.
Yeah.
Although once upon a time, Andrew Norwell was a all-pro left guard, I believe, at least Pro Bowl, but he's fallen off a cliff.
Yeah. I will be right back.
I don't think their coaching staff is that bad. I know a lot of people don't like their coaching staff, but I think you just give Urban Meyers the opportunity to see what he can do. But Bevel wasn't totally useless as the offensive coordinator of the Lions. He wasn't ideal for the pieces they had. And I don't think that's all his fault, though. I'd like to see what he does with Jacksonville, because it was Matt Patricia who had the philosophy of, I'm going to force fit everyone into what I do rather than do something that they can fit into. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. I firmly believe that Bevel was held back by Patricia, because just look how much more explosive the offense was after that Texans game.
Right. So it's possible. The Cowboys, though, I mean, geez, if they're not a top tier offense with a healthy Dak Prescott, then they need to blow up that whole team and restart.
Well, I think they will be fine. I mean, weren't they the number one scoring offense before Dak got hurt last year? They were like super high or whatever on that.
Yeah, they were going a little bit nuts, but it was also against bad competition, so we'll see what they do.
Very fair. Well, and I think the big thing is they were a top offense in 2019 under Kellen Moore. I think he's a good offensive coordinator. My only concern is their defense for the Cowboys. I think it's pretty bad after last year. I don't think they did too much to improve it all that much, other than the hiring of Dan Quinn. I believe it's their new DC, right?
Who?
Dan Quinn for the Dallas Cowboys. I believe he's their new defensive coordinator.
That would be a step up from what they've had.
Yeah, Mike Nolan was their old defensive coordinator.
And that could definitely improve them. We'll see where the Cowboys land, but
have we moved on to this question?
Who wins the NFC West? Man,
yeah.
It's kind of a toss-up for me. I can tell you who it's probably not going to be is I don't think it's going to be the 49ers.
I don't think it's going to be the Seahawks. I think it's going to be between Arizona and LA.
Then it's if those are the options, I don't think it's Arizona. Arizona's just they did what every team that doesn't do well the next year does. They went out and signed aging used to be superstars in hopes that they could revitalize their careers. That has literally never worked out for anyone. They went out and got AJ Green. They went out and got JJ Watt. They traded for an aging Rodney Hudson. Now, don't get me wrong. I wish the Rams would have traded for Rodney Hudson, but Rodney Hudson's also, 30? He's 31, going to be turning 32 in a few days. 32-year-old center, potentially on his way down. When the organizations don't do any of this, they just don't. They don't go out and sign and overpay for aging superstars. That's not what they do. So I'd be surprised if they do. Plus, I'm not a big fan of their coach. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury has done jack to earn anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm also a bit worried about Kyler Murray.
Yeah, because he's a child playing a man's game. So it's probably a good worry.
Yeah. Well, and also, as his TD pick ratio as a passer has been last year, I believe he was above average, but he had 26 touchdowns and 12 picks. I mean, not bad, but not elite yet or anything. Not anything that's going to beat Russell Wilson.
For a scrambling quarterback, for a running quarterback, it's not that good.
Are you talking about Kyler Murray?
Yeah.
Are you saying he's bad?
No, I'm just saying he's underwhelming for a non-pocket passer. I mean, if you look at the first couple of years from like the more mobile quarterbacks that we have that are succeeding in the NFL this year or right now, I mean, like Deshaun Watson had 103 and 103 quarterback rating. Patrick Mahomes had a 70. Well, he had 113 and 105 in his first 2 years starting. Josh Allen was probably what Kyler Murray is closest to at 68 and 85 passer rating. Russell Wilson started off his career at 100 and 101. Mobile passers usually start off pretty hot, and the exception was Josh Allen. So unless you think he's going to have a Josh Allen explosion, you could be having some issues because Kyler's been at 85 and 94, or 87 and 94. So his QB rating in his first 2 seasons is pretty bad for a running quarterback.
But you also have to remember, last season his shoulder was injured for like 6 or 7 games.
You have to remember that as long as he's 5 foot tall, that's going to be a concern for the rest of his career.
That's very true.
I mean, he's likely going to get injured more than a full-size quarterback. Have you seen? I mean, it's not even just like his height. Have you seen somebody hit him? Like Aaron Donald, it's like a cartoon. Aaron Donald like touches him with his pinky, and Kyle Murray goes flying back 30 feet. It doesn't take a lot of strength to literally obliterate this guy. It's unreal. Watching Aaron Donald and other guys hit him is scary. It looks like a full-grown man hitting a child. It really does. I never saw that with Drew Brees, for example. Like I never saw somebody hitting Drew Brees and Drew Brees looked ragdolled. You know what I'm saying? Kyler Murray getting hit is scary to watch.
It's not as scary as seeing Joe Burrow get hit.
Well, he got hit. He got dropped right on the knees. A little different. But I also don't have any reason to believe they're going to have a useful run game. I mean, they don't have a good running back. And their O-line has been garbage.
Are you saying James Conner is trash? Because I would completely agree.
I don't think James Conner is worth much. He's not useless, but he's not like he's a top tier back. Chase Edmonds is nothing special. Neither have proven anything. I don't think they have a 1-2 punch with that combination. AJ Green hasn't done anything in years, nothing useful. It's been at least since AJ Green was good, it's been probably 5 years. He had a 1,000-yard season in 2017, but he's at 1,000 yards and 145 targets. Like that's not special. That's freaking. If you don't get 1,000 yards, 145 targets, you probably should retire. He hasn't been really good since 2015. Christian Kirk is an okay slot, but
D-Hop.
D-Hop. But that's the thing is what happens when a guy like D-Hop rolls into the LA Rams? Jalen Ramsey shuts him down. Who else are they going to go to? They don't have Larry Fitzgerald no more. Larry Fitzgerald was a great out. Nothing much at the tight end position.
Christian Kirk, I will say, helped them tremendously last year with deep threat balls.
Yeah, all 600 yards of it. I mean, that's not something I'm writing home about.
Larry Fitzgerald, D-Hop.
Christian Kirk, 12.9 average. That's not really the numbers of a deep threat. That's his average reception, 12.9 yards. Deep threats are normally in the 18 to 20 range.
True.
And their O-line is just awful. They added Rodney Hudson. They better believe that the best center in football can turn that whole team around.
All right. Next question up here is: I believe Urban is building a toxic culture in Jacksonville. Do you guys agree?
I mean, it's to be honest, I think any answer to this question is disingenuous. None of us have a way of knowing until stuff comes out. Like at this point, we're just working on the fact that he hired a guy who had a questionable past, and at the end of the day, are we supposed to go? Okay, the guy he hired who did something bad in the past. He's condemned for the rest of his life. He can never be redeemed. He can never, because he made one bad decision or a handful of bad decisions years ago that he's done forever. And if that's the case, I mean, geez, you know how many coaches would have to get fired in the NFL? And the only reason that was a big story, I think, was because of Urban having that issue with the other coach who was being abusive to his wife, right? Like, at the end of the day, the mentality of a coach and a leader is generally going to be to want what's best for the people around you and to want to help them and want to believe in the best for them and the best out of them, right? So, like, the idea that Urban Meyer as a coach is going, yeah, I think, I know he made some mistakes, but I'm going to work with him. I'm going to do my best to help him grow. I think that's pretty coach-like. I think it's pretty leader-like. And if they don't grow, that's one thing. But for him to try to help them become better versions of themselves, I don't think that's terrible. We'll know in a year or two whether there's a toxic culture growing in Jacksonville. I don't think signing Bevel or any of the other moves they've done to date have really shown a toxic culture thus far.
I agree.
It's possible. Don't get me wrong. It's possible, but I don't think there's any evidence to come up with a conclusive answer at the moment.
As a Boise fan, Kellen Moore slander will not be tolerated. All right. There's a team that shocks the NFL every season. I'm a firm believer that the Lions will be that team. I believe that's Joseph's first comment, so welcome to the den, Joseph. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
So the idea of a shock is that they go from either last or second to last in their division to first. Generally last to first. So if we look at those teams, it's the Jets. I think that would be – I don't think they have the components for that.
No, they definitely don't, especially with the Buffalo Bills.
And the Chiefs. Oh, no. I'm in the wrong division. The Dolphins have a good defense. And the Patriots could be improved. They got a lot of pieces. The Jets are still primed to be last in the division, I think. I would be surprised if they weren't.
I don't. I really don't. I think that the Patriots are going to take last.
They made a lot of additions this offseason, though. They got Nelson Aguilar. They got Hunter Henry and Geno Smith. They got they got Trent Brown back, who was a Pro Bowler last time he played with Bill Belichick. They got Matt Judon to rush the passer.
A team that I could see making that shock is going to be the Chargers. The Chargers are, in my opinion,
7-9 though.
I know, but they were still second to last in their division.
It's true.
Yeah, I don't know. 7-9 is not quite what I wouldn't consider 7-9 to. I mean, they're not going to win their division. I wouldn't consider 7-9 to like a wild card berth to be this shock.
I think that Chargers will make it to the playoffs this year. I also think, I would say Detroit is going to be one of those teams. I would.
Well, so the other app, so it's in the AFC East, it's the Jets. In the AFC North, it's the Bengals. Not going to happen. In the AFC South, it's the Texans or Jacksonville. I don't think either of those are definitely not going to happen. AFC West, it would be the Broncos. We could throw the Chargers in there. I think 7-9 is not. If you go from 7-9 to 10-7, I don't think that's a surprise. I think that's a marginal improvement. I think a shock is usually like a difference of at least 5 to 6 wins. The Broncos, I don't think have it unless Drew Lock has a massive step forward in his second year.
That's hilarious because Drew Lock not a good quarterback.
They got weapons on weapons on weapons. Yeah, Melvin Gordon, you got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, you got Noah Fant. They have a decent O line. They have a lot of talent on this line that hasn't really come up, and they've got an okay defense. So but yeah, you have to believe in Drew Lock for that. And then in the NFC East, you're talking about the Eagles, really, which I don't think they're going to get any better. I think
Eagles slander will not be tolerated.
They're going to get worse. Then in the NFC North, we're talking about the Detroit Lions. In the NFC South, we're talking about the Panthers or Falcons. That neither of those seem likely at all. And then in the NFC West, you're really talking about the 49ers, who I just can't fathom. The combination of Jimmy G and Trey Lance just seems combustible. Their defense took a big step backwards. I would be surprised if the 49ers don't finish last in the division. The only thing they have going for them that would really make it different is that they have the two best tackles, the best tackle combination in all of football. Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey is the best left-right tackle combo in all of football. They've got George Kittle still. They got Kyle Juszczyk, and they have probably what I would say is a top 3 offensive coach in football in Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
And so it's really just down to the Lions and the It's the Lions. I just don't see any of the other teams doing it, to be
I'm
honest with
reading
you.
ahead right now, and some of these comments are questionable.
If I'm being perfectly honest with you, I'm not gonna do Lions because, of course, you're always gonna have that one guy that's gonna go like you high or that's cap or whatever with the Lions and saying I'm biased. But I'm gonna go actually Panthers. I think, but it's only situational. Depends on what happens with the Saints.
I'll
The
tell
Saints have
you.
very
I'll tell you based on that answer that you're high.
exactly.
There's
But
no.
I
I
don't know.
mean, based on what? Why are you saying that? Based on what? Defend
It's
your.
only on what happens with the Saints though, because I don't love their quarterbacks. I like Taysom Hill a bit, and Jameis has shown potential, but the Saints, I don't know.
Jameis is the pick king.
Yeah, well, and my biggest thing with Carolina
I'd be
is
shocked if Jameis puts up a lot of interceptions under Sean Payton. Sean Payton's
Well,
just a
he
careful
won't
offense.
because he won't start.
I think he's going to start, and I think he's going to throw less interceptions because that offense. You can't put a guy who's got the mentality of Jameis Winston into a gunslinger offense, and that just takes chances all the time because he will. He'll just do it nonstop.
but it's also just changing quarterback's philosophy though.
It's true, but they've got a really stout everything else. So it's like there's as long as the quarterback can be serviceable. I mean, the Saints are a deep team on both sides of the ball still. They still have Marcus Williams and Marshawn Lattimore on the secondary. They still have Marcus Davenport and Cameron Jordan on the D line. I mean, they got Demario Davis at middle linebacker, who's pretty legit. And their offensive line is probably top 5 in the NFL, if not number 1. They still have Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray. I mean, they're stacked, man. They have talent everywhere.
And if Taysom Hill doesn't start at quarterback, he's starting somewhere else.
True. Well, okay, so here's my reasonings for the Panthers, I guess. I think they're better than what people think they're going to be. I mean, is DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson a good receiver duo?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they went ahead and added Terrace Marshall, who I think is kind of who's a big body
Well, hold on,
possession.
real quick, before we move on from that point.
Yeah.
Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, good receiver combo? Yes. But you either have to have a quarterback who can reliably get them the ball or someone running the offense who is smart enough to create openings for them. And the Panthers have neither. That's what I said. Even though Jameis isn't necessarily that guy, and he can give you bulk numbers because he has arm talent. But Sean Payton controls that offense to a very tight T where it's hard to make errors in Sean Payton's offense because it's all fast and quick and it's about getting the guy open and in less than 2 seconds. It's just the way Sean Payton's offense is created. But who's running the offense in Carolina?
Joe Brady.
I think we just proved our point, didn't we?
Yes and no. I mean, we've only had one season of Joe Brady being an offensive coordinator in the NFL, but also I believe it's Joe Burrow that gives him credit for that LSU offense in college.
He was messing with
Did you hear what you just said though?
Old and crippled Teddy Bridgewater. So
did you hear what you just said though? Your main talking point is college offense. If that's your main talking point, you're off to a really horrible start.
I guess that's true.
He was garbage last year as the coordinator of the Carolina Panthers. And he was previously good in college, which means nothing in the NFL.
That's true. But as Central actually stated, he really didn't have much to work with. He lost Christian McCaffrey, and he was relying on Teddy Bridgewater, who I think is a little bit less talented than Sam Darnold. I think he'll get better.
He's less talented than Sam Darnold?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, he hasn't had a single good season other than his year in New Orleans.
And Sam Darnold hasn't had a single good season ever.
I guess that's true, but also I think the big thing is just physical talent. I mean, Sam Darnold has definitely a better arm than Teddy Bridgewater.
So does DeMarcus Russell.
I guess that's true. Well, and also I think you also have to remember when Sam Darnold played, I think it was it 2019? Yeah, he had a really good statistic 5-game stretch where he got his team to go 7-9 under Adam Gase. He's had good games under Adam Gase. He's shown potential. I believe he can at least be an above-average quarterback. And I don't know. I think it's kind of like what you were saying earlier with having weapons earlier for Joe Burrow. I legitimately believe Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore both got 1,000 yards of Teddy Bridgewater, who had 15 touchdowns and 11 picks for ratio.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson had 1,000 yards for Sam Darnold too, and that didn't help him, did it?
That's true. But Robbie, well, that's also like you said. Sam Darnold has had 1,000 yards of Robbie Anderson. Here he has a connection, and then they just added Terrace Marshall, who I really, really like. He's something that those two don't have. He's a big body possession receiver. I believe he's 6'3", I believe. He's over 200 pounds. He's got some stuff to him. I believe that's going to help.
Who
But
are we talking
also, one of
about?
my biggest indicators is how youthful and young their team could be. If we go to their roster for Carolina, now granted, like I said, it depends on the QB play of New Orleans, but their defense has some good pieces that I really like. For example, Brian Burns. Everybody kind of knows Brian Burns is a good edge player. They still have Derek Brown, who took up a lot of double teams. I don't think he was quite worth the pick, but he's definitely kind of like a Lee
Wait,
McNeil in
let
terms
me
of taking up
let's
players.
slow down a little bit. We said Brian Burns is a good edge player. What is that based off of?
I mean, he didn't. I believe he was top 10 in pressures last year. I mean, I
Really?
was in a debate with a Panthers fan the other day, and he told me that.
Yeah, Panthers fans like to make stats up. I mean, he had 9 sacks. I mean, it's not. He didn't do nothing last year, so I'll give you that. Okay, go ahead.
that's true. I think with the big, I don't know. It's just I think the team has potential and the ability to play really well.
I'm getting the high hats, Vincent.
Okay. And I think another thing you also have to remember is the selection of J.C. Horn, and they also have Deontay Jackson, who was pretty solid for them last year. And they also got a player who I really like in the slot, in Keith Taylor. And they also had Jeremy Chin, who was a defensive rookie of the year candidate. There's talent on this team, and I believe they can definitely put it together. It's just they gotta have some stuff that they make sure is good. But it's dependent. It really is dependent on what happens with the Saints. Of course, they're not going to beat Tampa Bay, but I think they can get that second place spot you were talking about. And that's all it is for me. It's the New Orleans Saints, but that's the only team because that's not named the Lions. And the only reason I think the Lions can get there is because Aaron Rodgers is apparently not going to play with Green Bay, and so I think there's potential with this team.
So are you just excluding the Falcons from the whole thing? Then
Yeah, I'm just doing the Falcons because I did not like their defense at all, and Matt Ryan had kind of a year where I questioned him a bit, and also
honestly, if they had kept Julio, their offense would be pretty scary this year with the addition of Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, but they didn't have the money.
Yeah,
they don't. They don't have. I mean, their whole coaching staff is a question mark at this point.
True.
Very true.
And on defense, they've got literally one good player. So it's like,
oh yeah,
it's Grady Jarrett and a bunch of other guys.
They just need their O-line to start playing both sides of the ball.
Yeah,
I'd be better than what they have right now. They've got their O-line has potential, but it hasn't really performed up to date, I think. So
yeah. All right, moving on to the next question.
Okay.
Who will be more successful, Campbell or Urban Meyer? And who will be fired first out of all these rookie head coaches that were hired this year?
Fired
I think that's
first.
impossible now.
Let's hit the fired first part because I think I can answer that right here, right now.
Okay,
All
go
right.
ahead.
The fired first answer, and I don't think either of you are going to argue with me. Let me remember his name though. Let me go look it up because I don't want to just give you the team because it's not as impactful than hearing a guy's name that you've never heard of who's a head coach now. That would be Nick Sirianni, the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. First to get fired, guaranteed.
Yeah, I completely agree. Who are all the coaches that were hired this year? You had Nick, Arthur Smith, Brandon Staley, Dan Campbell, and I feel like I'm forgetting someone else.
Well, you forgot Urban Meyer. So
Robert
there were 7 though. Let's see. We got. I just googled it. We've got. Where is it at? Okay, so we've got.
Oh wait, the Texans, their head coach. I believe he might be fired first.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, Urban Meyer, number 1. I mean, dude, this dude is Jacksonville. He is a pretty legendary coach. I think he's going to get time. Robert Saleh, the Jets don't fire coaches right here.
And even if Urban Meyer does bad, he's gonna get more time because of his name.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Saleh, the Jets tend to give people too much time, and I think he's actually going to be a pretty solid leader. I don't know how good of a head coach he's going to be, but I think he's going to be a good leader. I don't like his starting decisions. I think he hired a bad offensive coordinator. I think he's off to a bad start. Arthur Smith, I mean, dude's never called a game before. He again started I gotta get that thing that Luke G had up the other day where he was talking about new coaching. It was the D coordinators because it changes when you see the coordinators they're hiring. It really puts a face on the whole thing, right? And if I could find the list of who they hired as their coordinators, it makes you go, oh, okay. Like, for example, Brandon Staley for the freaking Chargers. I actually like him as a head coach a lot, but he hired Joe Lombardi to be his offensive coordinator. And that's a really questionable first decision, I think. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's a questionable first decision. Actually, I figured out a way I could look this up. So then we've got the Eagles. Let's see who the Eagles hired to be their coordinator. Because they've got Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. Any of you ever heard anything about either of these guys?
Never heard of them in my life.
Okay. So Jonathan Gannon was the cornerbacks coach for the Colts. You know what the crazy? Okay, so the crazy thing is the Colts are known for their front seven. Can you guys name me the stud secondary players the Colts have on their team?
Kenny Moore?
I mean,
that's
they
it.
got Kenny Moore, Xavier Rhodes, but neither of those is blowing your mind.
Xavier Rhodes wasn't a product.
Buckner,
Xavier Rhodes,
Darius Leonard. You've got their line is got some talent, but Justin Houston was on the team yesterday. I don't see why the quarterback coach for the Colts just deserved a promotion at all. That one boggles my mind a little bit. Then the other one was Shane Steichen, who was previously the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, which, like Luke G said, everyone knows the guy, the genius behind the Chargers offense was Anthony Lynn.
Oh yeah. Well, and I don't know. It's just I don't Nick Sirianni. I think the reason he would stay is how long Howie Roseman, I believe that's his name, is the GM. I feel like he hired Sirianni because he's in control of Sirianni, and I feel like that's kind of what happened there. And I believe the person to go first would be David Culley, the Texans head coach.
Well, I think that what you're missing, though, is that Howie Roseman is on his last leg because it ended up being basically a thing where they were like, either Howie Roseman's not putting a good enough team around Carson Wentz or Carson Wentz was a bad pick. And both of those things reflect poorly on Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman's been pretty awful the last 5 years. Like, he has not made good decisions at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Roseman might get fired. And if Roseman gets fired, then they're definitely going to be firing Nick Sirianni.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. My biggest thing with David Culley is that was such a bad hire, and they don't. I think the only reason he might stay is because of how bad their talent is. I mean, other than Zach Cunningham and Brandon Cooks, I can't really name guys who are really that good on the Texans.
I can tell you one good reason why, right off the bat, that the Texans guy is going to last longer. His name is Bill O'Brien. That dude lasted 7 years there. And not just as the head coach, but as the offensive coordinator, and some of those years as the GM. Like, that's bonkers. If Bill O'Brien made it that long, it doesn't. I don't see why they would fire this new guy. They just seem to hold on to people too long. It's like their motto.
That's true.
I think Myers is going to last of his name. Staley, I'm hopeful for, but again, Joe Lombardi was a pretty bad pick. The Falcons are another team that have a new coaching staff. Let's see who they hired as the coordinators, because you see some of these coordinator hires and you're going, "Whoa, this is bonkers. None of this makes sense." Arthur Smith.
That's so good about Campbell. I mean, he's hired
everything,
really
not just from the coordinators, but the coaches down. They're great. Dave Ragone is the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. His previous job was the passing game coordinator for the Bears. Let me repeat that for you. He was the passing game coordinator for the Bears last year.
Jeez.
The Bears. Come on, man. That's the silliest thing. They were 22nd in yards last year in the passing game. That's ridiculous. That dude did not deserve an offensive coordinator position. And then their defensive coordinator is Dan Pease. His last job was the defensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans 2 years ago. He actually has a pretty good track record, to be honest with you. He's been defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, then the Baltimore Ravens, and Tennessee. So we'll give him a hand for hiring that guy. But Arthur Smith he's not Anthony Lynn. He's not an offensive guy. He's never called an offensive game before. And then they hired a guy who was
I don't know about that. Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator for Titans. Mike Vrabel did not call plays. He's a defensive guy. Are you sure about that?
I thought that was one of the things about Arthur Smith is that he's never actually called a game before.
I'd be surprised because Mike Vrabel was a defensive coordinator for the Texans.
Yeah, no, you're right. Vrabel's a defensive guy. Maybe he has. I thought that was one of the knocks against him, so I could be wrong.
I think the knocks against him is the fact that he had Henry, and no one knows if he was good because of Henry or because of that. I think that was a big knock on him.
Well, still, okay, so yeah, maybe he'll take control. I like their defensive coordinator hire. You can't fault that. I mean, that dude's literally played for 3 of the best defenses in the last 20 years. So the Patriots,
sure.
Baltimore Ravens, and Tennessee in 2019. And then, but you hired the freaking Bears passing game coordinator, so you lose all credibility with me. That's
questionable hire for sure.
And then we've got Coley. Who did Coley hire? Do we have any idea who Coley hired? Let's see.
He kept the defensive coordinator from last year, I believe.
He got Lovie Smith. So Coley gets a point for that. Lovie Smith's an excellent coach. I'm a big fan of Lovie Smith. He's a good defensive coordinator at the very least. He was a defensive coordinator for the Rams when they went to the Super Bowl back-to-back years, and he was very good at it. And then he was the the head coach for the Chicago Bears for 8 years, and he took them to the Super Bowl with freaking Rex Grossman. That's an accomplishment. And the defense for the Bears those years were phenomenal. You remember freaking Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, they were stud. They had a great defense for a long time. That was a good hire. They kept their offensive coordinator, Tim Kelly. That's who you're thinking of.
Yeah.
And their offense was good last year. Their offense was good last year. I mean, their offensive numbers are great. They had the best passing attack in the game. So it's hard to really fault them for that either, you know. They were the second best in that game in passing yards, or fourth best in passing yards, 8th best in touchdowns, and second best in interceptions because freaking Deshaun Watson only threw 7 picks all season long. So there's talent there. Their running game was awful.
Very true. I mean, he actually made David Johnson have a pretty solid year when he was actually playing.
Correct.
All right. So, I guess, yeah, you convinced me that Nick. I mean, but you also made me believe in Dan Campbell even more with that statement. I mean,
no, Dan Campbell did what. See, that's the thing. That's the thing is a good leader isn't afraid to hire people who will look better than him. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal that people overlook about Dan Campbell. He hired freaking assistant offensive coordinator or a defense coordinator in Dom Capers, who could look better than him on day one because he's Dom Capers. He hired Ari Pleasant, who most people thought was going to be a D coordinator last year. He just wanted to get the most talented and particular set of coaches that he could. And I think that shows a maturity and a leadership ability that a lot of these other guys seem to hire a guy that wasn't going to be a threat to them at all.
For sure. Joseph says here, moving on to this next one, Goff will have a solid run game for play action. The O-line will be very good. TJ is going to have an all-pro season.
All right. Who's the best play action quarterback? Let's just answer that one real quick.
Baker Mayfield, I think, was statistically the best play action quarterback last year.
That would be correct.
Last year being the key word.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's true.
The 2 years prior to that was Jared Goff. Or actually, the 3 years prior to that, I think, was Jared Goff. Been kind of the staple of the Rams for the last 4 years. But the play action game, well, to be fair, though, and I talked to analytics about this, the reason the play action game for the Rams tanked last year is because McVay changed it after three years of being, at the very least, top 3, top 5 play action.
Oh, yeah, you're a McVay hater. I forgot.
I'm not a McVay hater. He's my head coach. I just think he's headed down the wrong path.
Mm-hmm. Next thing, Lions put together probably the best staff out of the 7 teams that hired a new coach. Not arguably.
I don't think it's arguably either. I think the talent they have from top to bottom is undeniable. They hired people who have been head coaches in the past. They hired people who were believed to be getting promoted, and they kept them at basically the same position. Aubrey Pleasant. They had a lot of people who were really, really sought after. So I don't think that's arguable, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. The guy that said Sewell was the best said we would lose to the Bengals. Huh.
Okay, Sewell's not going to be a bust. I'm sorry.
Well, we don't even need to entertain that. The guy who said Sewell was a bust said he was going to be a bust because he was freaking Polynesian. So it's not even
Oh, yeah.
a conversation we had. It's just.
I even called him out on it, and he defended it. I can't believe it.
And he said there's never been any good Polynesian players in the NFL. Like Troy Polamalu didn't exist.
So basically, he's
Yep.
racist.
Yeah, essentially.
Nice.
And he's like, no, there was also just these bad games. And I asked him to name the games, and he just said every game. So I was like, oh my word.
Oh, you want to
Okay.
watch? You want to watch Penny Sewell play? Freaking watch him against Auburn in 2019 when he took on two of the best defensive players in the draft.
Lions going 10-7, taking the division. Okay. I don't see them winning over 9 games, first of all, and second of all, they're not taking the division. You still got Minnesota and Green Bay. Even without Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay's still a threat. Like, they still have the second best
They're not a
O-line
threat.
in the league.
They're not throwing Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love's to nobody. He hasn't done nothing yet. There's no reason for them to be considered a threat without him.
Mhm.
I mean, he's literally done nothing. He wasn't exactly a highly sought after draft pick either. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to think that Green Bay's a threat without Aaron Rodgers.
Well, my biggest thing with Green Bay is also they have historically have struggled without Aaron Rodgers, other than Matt Flynn on Thanksgiving versus the Lions. I mean, Deshaun Kaiser and Brett Hundley, they did not get the job done in Green Bay. And even then, what's the biggest reason we all say Aaron Rodgers had success? I mean, for the Pack, excuse me, why did the Packers have success? We say it's Aaron Rodgers. Devontae Adams is amazing, yes, and so is his name's passing, Aaron Jones. Those two are explosive, but I don't believe their offense would have been as good as it was had it not been for Aaron.
So I was actually just looking at the Lions schedule. So they actually do play Chicago again this year on Thanksgiving. But the week before that, they actually play Cleveland.
Yeah.
So that'll
It's
be
gonna
fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm pretty scared for that
Well, so
game.
on the Vikings front, they're the Vikings, so I think it's fair to not expect a lot from them. They've had basically one good season like the last.
Okay, but in that division, Minnesota is definitely the best team without Aaron Rodgers.
Based
I can
on
see that.
What exactly though?
Yeah.
And Chicago is obviously going to be terrible, like they are always. And then Detroit, probably 9-8 at best. Green Bay, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, which he's like 99% not going to play, I don't see them winning over 8 or 9 games. And then Minnesota, I'll give them 10 games.
Mhm.
I think it'll
Well,
be pretty close.
You think that they got better from last year?
I think they did. Last year they had injuries. Oh, isn't Daniel Hunter or whatever holding out?
Hold on.
I heard something about that.
I think something like that, but I don't know that they got better. I think
And Kirk Cousins, it doesn't matter what anybody says, he's still an elite quarterback. He threw for 4,200 yards, 35 touchdowns, 13 interceptions last year.
true, but their defense is still awful. So
I would agree. And they have Dalvin Cook. That's Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen.
For sure.
But their
Well,
defense is still awful.
And they have a fairly good head coach. I like Mike Zimmer. But my question mark is their defense. I don't like their secondary all that much other than
Harrison Smith.
Harrison. Yeah.
Harrison's getting close to that age when you start.
Oh, yeah. Isn't he like 32 right now?
I also do like Eric Wilson. I do.
Oh, everyone likes Eric Wilson. But the thing is, linebackers are good, but their pass rush, other than Hunter, is very, 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 very questionable.
Harrison is 32, and he had a down year last year.
Yeah. And so
They're
I think the Vikings, if their defense doesn't improve, I don't think they're going to be as good, but their offense is – you got Cook, Jefferson, Thielen.
But
I think Irv Smith is solid.
But what are we talking about with the Lions? You can't, on one hand, say, a good old line is a big difference maker, and then act like it doesn't matter when we're talking about the Vikings. Their O-line is awful, and
Very true.
One injury to that already bad O-line, and that O-line could be so bad that it could demolish the talent, not the talent, but it could demolish the opportunity that Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, and Justin Jefferson have to be good. They also lost Kyle Rudolph, who was actually a huge part of that team, not only in the short red zone area, but also as a blocker. He was a really good blocking tight end. So
Sure.
they've lost some pieces, and I'm not sure that they got better. I don't think they got better on offense. I think their O-line might have gotten worse, and especially when you throw in the inclusion of Kyle Rudolph. And then the D-line, I don't think it got better at all. Patrick Peterson's been going downhill for several years. I don't have any reason to think he's going to start suddenly becoming good at the age of 30.
True.
I worry about the two most important position groups in football, the O-line and the D-line, is their weakest spots by a lot. And so I worry that is – I don't worry. I don't like them, so they can suck. But that's my main thing. They're O-line and D-line are questionable, and that makes everything else fall apart if it sucks.
So I have a question for you. Do you not think Sheldon Richardson and Dalvin Tomlinson are not good defensive tackles?
Sheldon Richardson is not on this team, is he?
Yeah,
Sheldon, he is, but he's not. Dude, he's not been good for a long time.
It's true.
When's the last good season Sheldon Richardson had? Was it ever, for that matter? I don't know that he's ever had like a really good season.
I mean, he's had some good seasons. Last year he had 64 tackles and 4.5 sacks. Although I haven't watched film on him in a while. So,
we're talking about him as he's not a game changer. I don't think anyone would argue he's a game changer. I mean, you got a Cleveland Brown guy in here. Did Sheldon Richardson transform your defense last year? He's gone.
Central. Yeah,
sorry. I was talking. What was the question?
Sheldon Richardson, did he transform your team last year?
No.
Did he transform your team in? No, he only played. Wait.
He only played 1 year. Oh, actually, never mind. He only played 2 years.
He played 2 years in Cleveland. So the last 2 years, he didn't transform your team. Okay, got it. So, yeah, I don't think Sheldon Richardson is anything to write home about. Daniel Hunter has been good historically, but we'll see. He's last 2 seasons, 14.5 sacks. He didn't play in 2020. Unless this is all jacked. Let me look at the other. Daniel Hunter.
Yeah, 2020 stats, 35 solo tackles, 4.5 sacks.
Who are you looking at? Oh, you're looking at it. Yeah. No, so Daniel Hunter didn't play in 2020 at all. Was he hurt? I don't even remember, to be honest with you, because I literally don't care about the Vikings. So Daniel Hunter didn't play last year. I'm not sure if it was injury or if it was COVID opt-out or something. But I think it might have been COVID opt-out. But do we know for a fact he's going to come back strong after being gone for a year? Whether it was injury or COVID opt-out or whatever it was. I mean, Dalvin Tomlinson, I think, is fairly talented, but not somebody I'm writing home about. He's a pretty stout. He's actually playing out of position, I think. He's kind of a natural nose tackle, so it looks like they play a 4-3 there. Anthony Barr's probably one of the worst coverage linebackers in football.
Mm-hmm.
He gets exposed a lot. So I think they've actually moved him to more of a pass rushing role because of it. But I'm not impressed with their D-line or their O-line at all. The only guy on either side that I'm like if I was talking about the Lions and Rams, for example, like the Rams O-line, I think is not good. The only guy from this offensive line I'd want is Garrett Bradbury. That's it.
Not even Christian Darrisaw, although I guess he's a left tackle and you have Whitworth.
Yeah. We have a pretty decent backup left tackle too, to be honest. So I haven't seen Darrisaw play at all, so I'll have to see him play more.
Interesting. All right. I think the Lions. Oops, I just missed a comment. I think the Lions have 13 starters coming back from last year. Let's see. You got Decker, Ragnow, Jackson, Big V, Swift, Hawkinson. You have Cephas. Cephas even counts as a starter.
You can, yeah. I don't know that he's going to start this year, though. I think he probably it's questionable. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the offense. And then
I think he's right. I just counted it.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There might be 14, actually.
Yeah, because there's also Jamie Collins.
Okay, well, you have Well, we're assuming based on ESPN projections right now, Trey Flowers, Jamie Collins, Jelani Tavai, and Romeo Acquire are all 4 starters.
Yeah.
I don't think Penasini starts. I think Eileen McNeil's going to start in front of him, so I won't count him. So none of the D-line, but all 4 linebackers and all the secondary started last year. That's 8 spots right there on defense.
Huh. I didn't think about that.
And then you have 6 on offense with Swift, Hawkinson, and the 3 and the 4 offensive linemen. So yeah.
Joseph Murdoch says, new to the show, great stuff. I've been a fan for over 50 years, and this is the first time this team is balanced on both sides of the ball. Thanks, man, for liking the show. And yeah, I agree. We're actually pretty balanced on both. It's normally kind of been we're great on one side and bad on the other.
Well, you know what brings balance to each side is the foundation of those lines, man. They hold it together.
Mm-hmm. Bears, Vikings, and Packers RMS. The Lions have more to prove, and the media has given them more enough motivation. The staff will be the key, and the players will respond positively. I agree. What about you guys?
I agree that the division is a mess, bro. Honestly, I could see any one of those teams winning that division except for the Bears.
I don't think
Bears Sanders is tolerated.
I don't think the Bears have a chance either. So I'll give Mr. Browns here my reasoning behind thinking that do you not like the Lions or what? Do you think the Packers are that good?
No, so actually the only team that I dislike in that whole conference is probably the Bears. I really don't like the Bears.
I mean, who does? But
Bears fans.
I think I said this before. I'll kind of throw it out there again. I think there's a legit chance. So historically, we have a pretty good precedent that O-line and D-lines have a lot to do with the success of everything else around them and the team as a whole. I think the Lions probably have a top 10 front 7 next year.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't even think that's really that hot of a take, but people hit back on me for it. And you have a top 10, front 7. You have a top 10 O-line, which I don't think anyone argues that they have talent to be a top 10 O-line. Then you're set to really just have to not screw up the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only questionable guy on the front 7, and I don't personally, well, I guess it just depends on what direction you go. The only questionable guy on the front 7 for the Lions would be the secondary inside linebacker position, right? Because we all think Brockers, Levi, and McNeil are all going to start at the 3 defensive line positions. Then Romeo and Trey Flowers start on the edges, and Jamie Collins starts at the mic. So we're talking about the will side. Is it Tavai or is it Anzalone or is it Derek Barnes? I mean, I think everyone's basically boiled it down to that. I personally think Tavai is going to start, and I think he's going to do well.
Yeah.
I actually want to ask you, are you confident Romeo Acquire moving to outside linebacker?
100%. 100%. People, for decades, it was a really big deal in the NFL, but it's not anymore. Most edges coming out of high school and college are taught to play both, and they are expected to know how to play both. It was a thing a long time ago, but it's not a thing anymore. The vast majority, like when Mario Williams got traded from the Texans to the Bills a long time ago, everyone was like, oh my gosh, the Bills run a 3-4. He's going to have to play standing up for the first time in his life. But now, when's the last time you heard of that? When freaking Jadeveon Clowney got traded from the Browns from the Texans to the Titans, or when he signed with the Titans or with the Seahawks even, and he switched to playing the opposite role. No one was surprised. I was like, yeah, he'd do it. He's super athletic. He's done it before. Like everyone just expected to play either or. I don't know if there's any reason why Romeo can't. He's not like he's oversized for an edge. That's actually the reason PFF combined them both, is because they're so interchangeable now.
Mm-hmm.
The only issue you have at times with switching from outside linebacker edge to defensive end on a 4-3 is if you're undersized. If you're 240 playing defensive end in a 4-3, that's a little bit too small. But the reality is the biggest defensive ends in a 4-3 are going to be like 270, and that's not oversized to play outside linebacker in a 3-4. It's just not.
For sure.
So Rams House, I want to
moving
ask
on to
you
the
a
next
question.
thing.
Do you
Oh, never mind.
do you watch any do you pay attention to college or just NFL?
I watch college film. I do not watch college games very often. I'm not a big fan of the college game, but I watch college film for draft prep and stuff. I watch a lot of college film.
Oh, okay. Do you have a favorite college team?
Not really, no.
Okay. What about you?
Oh, me? Oh, BSU,
Yeah.
all the way.
Oh yeah.
We're not-
What'd you say?
We're not going to go anywhere ever, but that's why there's a little comment here. Let me find it. This will never be tolerated. Ever.
Wait,
He's
your
the
school
one good piece
is
of our history.
BSU, so it's BS University. That's fine.
Yep. Just Kellen Moore is like my guy, man. I know. Yeah,
Hey,
we haven't
can
been.
you guess mine, Rams house?
Ohio State. I don't know. I'm just going off Cleveland.
No. No, so actually, I'm really a Philly fan. So that's actually my.
You're an
favorite
Eagles
team.
fan?
It has been forever.
You're an Eagles fan?
Yes,
for real?
I am.
That's funny.
Yeah, I've been an Eagles fan since about 2013. So
Do you agree the Eagles are imploding?
It's been some rough years. Yeah, I agree.
I just
This
don't.
is-
I
this
don't
is
understand
really bad.
any of the direction your team is going in, like at all.
Oh yeah, neither do I. Like, why would you pick up Joe Flacco, bro?
But I also
my
don't
goodness.
understand the direction the Rams are headed in. So that makes you feel better. I'm a little lost on
Hey,
that.
but Rams will be a top 5 team this year, in my opinion. So
I'm doubting that. It doesn't. I know it may not appear like that's going to happen, but the defense is going to drop quite a bit. The
Yeah.
defense the year before 2019, we were basically league average. The guy who really changed our defense was our defensive coordinator Brandon Staley, who's now the head coach of the Chargers. We lost him. We lost our third and fourth best defensive starters in John Johnson III and Michael Brockers. So you're getting John Johnson III in Cleveland.
hey, I appreciate John Johnson III, sir.
He's probably a top 3, top 5 safety. And not only that, he's probably the best. This might be slanderous. I don't know. I have to think about it some more. He's probably one of the. I'll say he's top 3 as a safety that is good at both sides. He can play the run and the pass both phenomenally well. And it is stupid how good he is at doing both. And for that, I think he's underrated because you got guys who are great ball hawks, guys who are great at stuffing the run, and then you have losers like Jamal Adams who aren't really that good at either. But
Oh dang!
The
But,
Jamal Adams slander, dang.
I hate Jamal Adams.
Blitz boy.
He said I hate Jamal Adams. Oh my goodness.
I think he's one of the most overrated players in the NFL today, for real. But separate thing.
Oh yeah, no,
John
I
Johnson-
100% agree.
John Johnson's probably the most underrated safety in the entire football league. And dude, I don't dislike or like the Browns. I don't have any kind of strong opinion on him either way. But this year, your team is so effing talented. It's stupid. If you
I
don't put it all
know.
together, it'll be a coaching problem because as far as talent goes, y'all are stacked and set. I mean, from top to bottom. Your O line isn't great, but the rest of your team is just so good. I don't even matters.
I'm curious about something real quick, Rams House. What's your thoughts on Baker Mayfield?
It will not be tolerated here, just so you know.
Baker Mayfield is, I would say Baker Mayfield is a little. So if I consider, let's see.
Okay,
I'm not
real
trying to be
quick, real
gentle.
quick. Before you go. Okay, so just think about the players I've defended today. What college team do I like? Rams house.
I'm trying to think of who you defend. I have a migraine, so my memory's not super strong right now. Trying to think of who you defended. Name me one of the players you
It was
defended.
quite a bit earlier when we were talking about NFC West. I mean AFC West. I mean no, NFC West. I'm so stupid.
NFC West. It was the Cardinals.
Yeah.
That-
Who on the Cardinals did
Kyler
I?
Murray?
Yes.
So okay, you're an Oklahoma guy. Okay.
Yes.
I don't have a
live in
problem with Oklahoma. I don't have a problem with Oklahoma. I think actually Oklahoma's a pretty good. I will say Oklahoma doesn't have a great history of producing NFL talent, but especially at the quarterback position. I remember I had Sam Bradford, so thanks for that. I did not want Sam Bradford, by the way. I didn't want him at all, and I'll tell you one reason why, and one reason only. I mean, was Sam Bradford phenomenal in college? Yes, he was. But I read this article before the draft, and they detailed Sam Bradford's walk up to the NFL, and they go, in high school, all 5 of Sam Bradford's offensive linemen were 5-star recruits at the college level. And in college, all 5 of them made the NFL. And I go, oh, he's about to get destroyed for the Rams. He's never going to make it. He's never had to deal with pressure. He's never had to deal with anything but the best O-line everywhere he's been. That this one article convinced me Sam Bradford was not going to work.
Then he got after the St. Louis Rams.
The worst offensive line in football, and he got obliterated. But no, because that's what they're figuring out. Though what scouts are figuring out is that pocket presence and the ability to avoid pressure is actually the number one trait that a quarterback has. That's the number one trait that translates from college to the NFL. Like, you can have the greatest arm of all time. Like, Bradford had one of the greatest college arms of all time. But it didn't matter because his pocket presence wasn't good enough. And unfortunately for him, like all other pocket quarterbacks, his career didn't last long enough for him to develop it because he tore like 12 ACLs. The dude was running out. The factory was running out of ACLs. You know, like
the only great season he had was with Minnesota.
And in that season, he was really nothing more than a game manager. I mean, he really didn't take risks. He was just running that offense really well. And he put the ball where it had to be, but it was always kind of scripted stuff, which isn't his fault. I mean, this is what they called. But so for Baker Mayfield, so you're okay. So is that why you root for the Browns? Because you're a Baker Mayfield guy?
I like Baker, but I'm also a very big Nick Chubb fan. I love Nick Chubb.
Chubb's great. So Baker, I think, is basically, I think his ceiling is probably top 10 quarterback. I would say I would kind of put him in the same category as Jared Goff as a game manager plus. They're not game managers solely. They're better than that, but they're not like Patrick Mahomes is.
Okay, I want to ask you this question.
Deshaun Watson's.
What ranking would you put him at for last season? Like, just like overall QB out of the 32 teams, what ranking? Like top what?
Let's see. Baker, I would probably put him in the range between 10 and 15.
That's exactly where I would put him.
And I would probably put Goff in 15 to 20 just based on last year alone. I think that's probably pretty fair. I think Goff's probably lower overall in most people's eyes, but I attribute a lot of his failures to his issues to, like, if we sat down together and we watched the games, watched a lot of film, it would become very apparent to you guys that Jared, because that's where it's like, when I watch film, I watch play by play, right? And I take one play at a time. And if I'm watching a play and I go, okay, well, what was he supposed to do here? What was the best case scenario for Jared in this situation? And if there's nowhere I can see where he can head that's good, then it falls on the coach. Anything I get more than that is just gravy, right? If Jared takes something that's a 0, there's nothing good happening, but he still makes something of it, well, then then that's a plus for Jared. But if Jared has nothing to work with and doesn't make anything of it, then that's not a minus for him. It's just a neutral.
Yeah.
If I'm grading a quarterback, that's how I view it. If he takes a good possession and he ruins it, then that's a negative. And there was just so many plays last year where it was just a bad situation for him. And he didn't necessarily make something good out of it. But again, I also don't think Sean McVay allows that. Sean McVay is being talked about this year as one of the most controlling coaches in the NFL. So I guess take that as you will. It's not just me. There's been a lot of reporters who basically talked about how unbelievably controlling he is about the offense.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. So let's answer this question here. So if Walker plays well, do you resign or do you go out and sign Marcus Williams from the Saints? Because I think if he hits the market and then draft a Jordan Battle. In regards to if Walker plays well, you re-sign him. I don't think Walker will ever play on Marcus Williams' level, which means I do not think we'll have to pay Tracy Walker Marcus Williams money. And are you saying?
I actually don't agree with that. I don't actually agree with that.
You don't think Walker? You think Walker can play as well as Marcus Williams?
Well, I think Marcus Williams is a little overrated, so that's part of it. But no, I think Walker's good. I think Walker has a pretty high ceiling.
It's true.
I mean, his 20. He's being so skewed because he kept getting put in the box, but he's a deep safety. He's a coverage guy, and it hurt him when you put him in the box. It actually hurt all of his numbers, not just his freaking his interceptions. And like 2019, he had 8 pass deflections, he had 103 tackles. He's kind of reminds me of John Johnson in the fact that he can do both, but he's obviously meant to play deep. Like it's where he belongs.
Huh. Okay.
Do you
What
think
about you,
Marcus
Central?
Williams like an absolute stud?
I think Marcus Williams is a great player, but I do agree he's overrated. I mean, he had 5 or 6 last year touchdowns allowed.
Let's see. Last year he had 5 and 6 the year before and 4 the year before. He's the lowest he's ever allowed is a 92.8 passer rating.
Mhm.
And it's kind of this, Tracy
I mean,
Walker's
he's
numbers
good.
are a lot better, but yeah.
He's definitely good, but I don't think he's like this like elite safety. But I think since the fact that there's a stigma around him being this elite safety, that I think he's probably going to have demand more money, and teams are going to give him more money. Kind of like Davion Clowney, for example. I think everyone
Yeah.
kind of knows he hasn't been this amazing player, but yet he keeps getting paid a lot.
Let's give Tracy Walker an opportunity to play in a real human being's defense.
That's true. Well, and also, and part of the Jordan Battle thing, I'm somewhat starting to believe in Will Harris, just slightly, due to practices. But
The practices were pretty. People are making a big deal about his interception on Goff, but the 3 days prior, it was like Goff picked on Will Harris and demolished him. So it was like
it's true.
we had a lot of talk about that. Tracy Walker's fairly athletic, though. I mean, he had a 4.51 40-yard dash for a safety. That's pretty decent. 14 bench, not bad. Let's see if I can find there's one site that compares them to like other people in their position. Yeah, I think Tracy has good athleticism. He's got good instincts. I don't know. I think he'll be okay.
Oh, I agree. Tracy will be good. It's just I don't know. Tracy, I think will be good. I think we're at least getting 2019 Tracy. I hope we get better. I hope we get an even better season from 2019. But
Yo, not skipping any comments, but one pride 40 just said Will Harris stinks.
I
he kind of has.
I don't disagree with that. I have a lot less hope in Will Harris being good than I do in Tracy Walker being really good.
Oh, I think Tracy Walker is guaranteed to at least play 2019. I just don't know if he was going to play Marcus Williams level. Okay, my biggest thing for Will Harris is especially if you watch my video. It took me like all day to find good Will Harris plays on the internet. So I definitely have my worries about him, but I don't know. Just there's some stuff that I think he can be good. My big thing is college. I think he was really good as a box safety in college. John Johnson actually advocated to get him. Granted, they did come from the same college, but Will Harris was good in college as a box safety, and I'm hoping since our coach is actually going to use him right, that he can at least play like his college self. And the one thing he has done good on in his career is touchdowns. I believe it took him to like week 8 or 9 to allow a touchdown, and he did not allow Travis Kelce to do that good in that Chiefs game. So he has some potential. And the one thing Bob Quinn did good at in his regime was drafting third rounders. I don't know why. That's like the only thing he was good for. But I'm hoping that maybe that third round magic of Quinn would helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tracy Walker will have the John Johnson effect with with Aubrey Pleasant.
Very true.
That's my thought.
All right. BD Buster says I was counting quitting Dunbar start. I think he's saying counting on Dunbar starting. I think that's what he meant. I think Dunbar can be good, but I think he'll be our number 1 because he's the vet and he's had an elite year compared to Amani O. I think I think it's gonna be interesting because I think Okuda could also challenge. I think there's a 3-way battle for the number 1 position: Okuda, Amani O, and Dunbar. Who do you guys think wins the number 1 job for the Lions?
Okuda.
What about you, Central?
He needed
Okay. Why do you think Okuda's going to win at number one, even though he was kind of bad last year?
I just don't take any stock in what happened last year. They had the wrong people playing behind him. They had the wrong people playing in front of him. They had the wrong schemes. It was all not good. He's talented. He's a really talented player, and I just don't. I don't have. It's like Jared Goff's rookie season. I don't put any stock into it. The coaching staff was so bad that it was impossible to be successful there.
Very true. My biggest thing, though, is Amani O played pretty good last year, even though he had the bad
That's not
coaching
necessarily
staff.
a good thing, though.
True.
So the thing is the story behind Matt Patricia is that he basically said, "Hey, this is the defense. You got to," and he's trying to fit all these square pegs into round holes, or round pegs into square holes. And Amani might have just been a guy who was a round peg fitting into a round hole. It might have been just that his play style fit the defense that Patricia ran, where it worked against most of the other people on the team. I think it would be kind of ridiculous to think that Amani has the potential that Okuda has. And if Okuda's killing it in practices and training camp like they say he is, and he's got the physical abilities and he's got the pedigree of how good he was in college and stuff, I don't think there's a chance he doesn't get that opportunity to be number one. The reality is Okuda's not Revis Island. You don't put Okuda on an island. You give him safety help.
Mm-hmm.
You give him help like you do any other top corner, not named Jalen Ramsey or Stephon Gilmore. There's only a couple corners in the NFL who could really go one-on-one with no help and dominate.
Do you think Okuda can one day get an island?
No, I don't. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's island good. I think he is. I think he's a guy that can thrive when he. So the thing is you're either Jalen Ramsey, Stephon Gilmore, where no matter what happens, I'm not going to lose this guy, or okay, I can play 75% of this guy, and I know that the other 25%, I have backup for that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Ramsey and Stephon Gilmore do all of it 100% to zero. The other guys in the NFL, they play their percentage knowing that they're going to, like, you as a corner, you basically choose what part of the field you're going to allow that guy to be able to get to. And if you're a good corner, then you allow them to get to the part that has safety or linebacker playing in zone, so you have help. As opposed to a Revis Island, Jamal Ramsey or Jalen Ramsey kind of guy who basically just knows there's never going to be help and I have to lock it all down by myself. They tried to do that with a rookie corner, which was idiotic.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen anything from Okuda to show me that he's capable of that. Maybe he proved me wrong. I have no problem with that. But I think he could still be a really good corner like most of the other corners in football who, with safety help, with the occasional zone linebacker, linebacker dropping into zone coverage, he knows he basically doesn't have to cover 100%. He can cover 75 and just dominate that 75.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. The York War Bros are going to be very scary. Aaron Glenn is going to be aggressive with Brockers, and the 2 draft picks, Capers, is going to be very aggressive with the outside linebackers. I agree.
I actually think yes and no. I think the York Bros are going to be scary. I think Aaron Glenn is going to be aggressive with the outside linebackers, not with Brockers and Aleem McNeil and Levi. I think he's going to allow them to be stout. He's going to have them hold the inside, and he's going to have the guy who's single covered one-on-one to push up. If you don't generally want to have all 5 of your guys pass rushing on the same play. You want to have guys that are playing the run to a degree because you never know what play is coming. Unless it's 3rd and 20, you generally have some guys just holding their gaps. You have some guys rushing the passer. I think the aggressiveness is going to come from your 2 potentially top 20 outside linebackers playing edge, and your Julian Okwara, who's going to be the 3rd guy in and out. And I think the D line will mostly just be If you have one guy pass rushing for the D line, it's probably going to be Levi. Brockers is going to hold the D line along with McNeil. McNeil will get the occasional pass rush, but I think the strength of them is their ability to hold the line and to not to have real gap integrity.
All right, so I'm gonna end the live in like 2-3 minutes, but One Pride 40 says that we should have drafted Isaiah Simmons. Do you agree with that?
No,
Either of you?
Simmons is bad.
No.
I mean, if you wanted to get someone else, Simmons is not the guy. That's for darn sure. Simmons didn't have a good season.
Yeah, well,
and not to mention, Simmons is still the issue with Simmons is he doesn't have a position. He's too small to play linebacker and he's too big to play safety. He is the definition of a tweener, and everyone thought, oh well, he's athletic enough to make up for it. Well, he didn't. He just didn't do well. Simmons didn't have a good season at all, and I could see you wanting someone besides Okudah, but I don't think Simmons is the answer.
Well, I think the only viable options outside of Okudah would have been Tristan Wirfs or Derek Brown.
I mean, you could have gotten Andrew Thomas to play tackle. You could have gotten Derek
Thomas
Brown.
wasn't good last year, though.
No, but I'm saying, you're.
Oh, at the draft time.
Yeah, he was drafted after, so that was an option. You could have gone. You could have traded back. You could have gotten Mekhi Becton or Jedrick Wills.
Mm-hmm.
You could have gone.
Well, Quinn didn't Quinn say no one offered?
Well, I mean,
I don't know. Probably was lying, but Quinn did say that nobody was willing to trade up at number 3.
You don't wait for offers. You call people and ask.
Sure.
He might not have been willing to go that far down. I mean, geez, there was a lot of other. I just don't think Simmons is going to be good, and I don't think he was good last year, and I wouldn't miss him too much.
Mm-hmm. If there's a guy on who the Lions could have drafted at 3 and not name Okudah, who would have you gone for?
At 3.
Yeah, just at 3. We had to stick at 3.
In hindsight, no. I might have taken Tristan Wirfs. I know he went 13th, but Tristan Wirfs to me was the best tackle in the draft last year.
All right, guys, I'm gonna interrupt y'all real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at something. I don't know if y'all saw this. It was like 5 hours ago, but I don't watch hockey at all. But the Blue Jackets goalie, Mattis Kilvinik, I don't even know how to say his last name, but he died from firework accident. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I saw that. pretty nutty.
I know. I didn't know that people actually died from firework accidents.
Well, it's got to be big
fireworks.
It's got to be big fireworks, and it's got to be a really bad accident. I don't know. I do fireworks all the time. I never even have any close calls. I don't know exactly what you're doing. I imagine the danger in fireworks is fireworks and alcohol being mixed together.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I'm not trying to say he's an alcoholic or anything like that, but if you're fully cognitive and paying attention to what you're doing, it's for example, people shoot off the big ones that go up in the air and they explode and they colors and everything like that. Usually I just stick a cinder block on them and I stick it to the cinder block. It doesn't have a chance of tipping over or anything like that. It's pretty well secured. There's a lot of ways to get that so that those accidents are not happening. So I don't know. I always find it odd when that happens.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, go to Joseph Murdoch's new question. That one's a good one.
That's a good question.
Can Rams O-line keep Stafford healthy or at least clean? He very well could have gone from the frying pan to the fire if that O-line isn't solid.
I don't have a reason to think they can. I mean, so let me break it down for you real quickly and the reality behind it. Okay, so we had in the first half of the season we were top 10 O-line, especially in pass protection. Second half of the season we were bottom 3, bottom 5. Andrew Whitworth is 40 years old. He's our best by a mile. So actually, what happened to us was Andrew Whitworth got hurt, and then after he was hurt, we were garbage, really bad. We let up pressures on 30% of Jared Goff's dropbacks. It was really horrible. So Whitworth is going to be 40 this season as a left tackle. I mean, the chances of him getting hurt again or are starting to decline are extremely high. If he's a all-pro quality left tackle at 40, he'll be the first one ever. So he's either miracles are going to happen or he's going to start to decline and or get hurt. Then we have our left guard, David Edwards, who was really good at right guard last year, and then he's being switched to left guard. So we don't really fully know how that's going to translate for him. I'd like to say it's going to be good, but I have no idea, and I don't think anyone can really honestly say they do. Then at center, we let go of our starting center who wasn't very good, and we actually moved our left guard to center, which was Austin Corbett. Corbett came from the Browns, so I'm sure Mr. Browns here is going to know him. He was not good as a center for the Browns, but he was excellent for the Rams as a guard.
True.
I do not have a reason to believe he's going to move back to center and be successful. So we've got strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. Then we go to right guard, where we're going to be playing Bobby Evans, who was a decent right tackle in like 5 games he started in 2019. But in the spot time he's gotten at right guard, he's been bad. He's our starting right guard. And then our starting right tackle is Rob Havenstein, who was mediocre in 2020, but was one of the worst tackles in football in 2019. I mean, if you're asking me to create a recipe for disaster on your O-line, this is that recipe. There is no position on the O-line that has any certainty whatsoever. So it's definitely a very combustible, dangerous situation there. And Andrew Whitworth gets hurt. Austin Corbett plays like he did at center for the Browns. Either of our guards, don't play phenomenally, or Rob Havenstein, our right tackle, goes back to 2019 form, and we are in an absolute mess of trouble. So the issue here is that Sean McVay said, the O-line is good enough in my offense. It's just that Jared Goff couldn't execute the offense. So the O-line's bad plays, Jared Goff's fault. Receivers not getting open was Jared Goff's fault. Whenever Sean McVay would run a 1-read offense and that first read wasn't open and Jared didn't have a second option available, that's Jared Goff's fault. Like, everything's somebody else's fault. And Sean McVay still believes his offense from 2018 is still intact, that no one's figured it out. And it's just because Jared stopped being able to execute it. It's just a lot of recipes for a lot of horrible stuff to happen. And it kind of is centered around the O-line. We didn't go get an O-lineman in free agency. We didn't trade for Rodney Hudson, who was he cost like a 5th-round pick. It was not very expensive at all. We didn't draft an O-lineman, and there was multiple chances to draft an O-lineman, especially interior O-line, where we needed Miners was available in the 3rd round. We had the guy that the Chiefs took in the 2nd round. Forget his name. I mean, we had options, and we passed on all of them. So to answer your question, I just have no reason to believe the Rams O-line is going to be good. I mean, to me, it'll be virtually a miracle. Oh, yeah, we got rid of Aaron Cromer, who's considered by most people to be the best O-line coach in football. I mean, he's considered to be at the worst top 3. And we got rid of him because McVay said, I don't need you. Because what happened was, the word on the street is Aaron Cromer told him, if you want to have an O-line that can run your offense, you got to have more talent on here. And McVay dumped him and said, I'll find somebody else who can do what we need with the with what we have. And McVay's kind of become an egomaniac, and it's become bad. Yeah, I'm a Rams fan who's not feeling super good about the Rams' chances next year because of issues like this, because of a change in we had the number 1 defense last year, but we let go of our starting free safety. We let go of our starting left defensive end. And then we're just going to and then we let go of our freaking defense coordinator, or we lost him. Do what?
You also lost Troy Hill. Isn't he your slot corner or whatever?
I didn't like Troy Hill, but yeah, we lost 2 of our top 5 defensive players. We lost our defensive coach, who, by the way, was a genius. So our defense is going to go back. It's going to go backwards. I mean, we weren't just the number 1 defense in the NFL. We were the number 1 defense by quite a wide margin. And so, yeah, everything is going backwards. It literally is. It's just and the O-line is in trouble, and our solution to a deep threat was a guy who hasn't been healthy in 4 years and a freaking guy who weighs less than a white paper towel. So I don't know.
The slander right now.
Oof.
It was my own team, man. It's freaking frustrating. We literally signed a guy who at the pro day was like 160 pounds, 158 pounds, something like that.
Hey, so did the Eagles. It's okay.
Well, the Eagles are garbage. This doesn't make the deal any better.
145.
145. That's awesome.
Okay, Devontae Smith is not 145 pounds.
No, talking about Tutu Atwell. Never mind. I was wrong. 149. He was weighed that.
Devontae Smith's actually heavier than I thought. He's 175.
Yeah, Tutu Atwell was 149 at his pro day. That's just, and we drafted him in the second round. In the second round, we don't make a wish decisions in the second round. You make it in the seventh round. I mean, look, Tutu comes out in balls. I'll be super happy, and I'll say I was wrong. But it's easy for me to say he's not going to do well because no one has ever done well at that size ever in the history of football.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you look up the smallest successful people, it's not good. Good.
Mm-hmm. Well, in actuality, Alabama at the pro day measured Devontae Smith at 170 pounds. But at the Indianapolis medical check, basically for the draft stuff, he weighed at 166 pounds. He just kept losing weight. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
But all right. Well, I think I'm going to end the live. You subscribe to Brown Central's channel. He'll start getting some videos up soon. And Ram's House, I don't remember. Do you have a channel or not?
Nope.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys later. And thanks for coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See you later, my fellow Den members. And I'll promise I'll start making content again. I just had a really large break.
Yep. See you later, guys.
See you guys. One Pride.
See ya.